This is a video to help you understand percent. Percent is out of 100. So we see a pie chart that shows the number of students signing up for various athletic classes. When we look at those numbers, we see that they add to 100. Percent is out of 100, and it can be simplified to represent or equal other fractions that are not out of 100. For example, if we said something like 1/2, we know that is equal to 50% because 1/2 is equal to 50 out of 100. Using equivalent fractions, we're able to see that 1/2 and 50 out of 100 are equal because the top and bottom are both being multiplied by 50, and 50 out of 100 is the same thing as 50%. So in this question, they could ask to find a diagram that's equal to any one of the categories given here as a percentage. So again, 40 plus 15 is 55. 55 plus 20 is 75, and 75 plus 25 is 100. So the circle represents 100%. And if we looked at something like mixed sports is 40%, which is equal to 40 out of 100. We could divide the top and bottom by 2, and that's 20 out of 50. We could divide the top and bottom by 10. Either one of these, the top and bottom by 10. 4 out of 10 or 2 out of 5. Any diagram that is shaded 20 sections out of 50 would be equal to 40%. Any diagram shaded 4 sections out of 10 would be equal to 40%. Any diagram that's shaded 2 sections out of 5 would be equal to 40%. So we can just take our percentage and write equivalent fractions and compare that to a diagram. So when we look at the diagram options here, they're saying which bar diagram shows the percent of students signing up for doing mixed sports as my example. First, I'm going to count and see how many boxes are in these diagrams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10, and this has 2 out of 10 shaded. Well, 2 out of 10 is equal to 20 out of 100, or 20%. That would not be the mixed sports model. 1, 2, 3. 3 out of 10 is equal to 30 out of 100, which is 30%. That is also not the mixed sports model. 1, 2, 3, 4 shaded. 4 out of 10 is equal to 40 out of 100, which is 40%. That would be equal to the mixed sports model. So we can see how percent could be equal to any equivalent fraction with a different denominator, as long as that fraction can be equal to the percent out of 100. In this problem, Alex knows 18% of the students surveyed at his school are dropped off by car. So it's easy to see that we have 18% in car for all of our options. 22% walk or ride bikes. So 22% is the total of the number of people who walk or ride bikes, because that's 22% walk or ride. That's a total for walk or ride. 16 plus 6 for this last option is 22%. 22 plus 22, and that option is not 22%, so we know that one is not correct. 14 plus 8 is 22%, and 10 plus 12 is 22%. So now we have to decide which of those three options is correct. Well, what do we know about percent? Percent has to have a total of how much percent? Like, what is the total when we talk about percent? The total has to be 100. So when we add all four categories, we should get a total of 100. So this is not the correct answer because 14 plus 8 is 22. 22 plus 18 is 40. 40 plus 60 is 100. Sorry, maybe that one is the correct option because that one adds up to 100%. Let's look and see if the other ones add up to 100%. 10 plus 12 is 22. 22 plus 18 is 40. 40 plus 38 is 78%. So you can't have a total for 78% because percent is out of 100. Where would those other 22% be if you only had walk, ride, car, bus? There's no other options. So those 4 options are the 4 options. Everybody had to pick one of those. So it has to add up to 100%. 16 plus 6 is 22%. 22 plus 18 is 40%. And 40 plus 22 is 62%. So again, that does not make sense. So this answer is correct. And again, going back to the models. So in this example, which is a little different than what you saw, but the same concept, I'm using 1/4 of the marbles are purple. So we look at these diagrams and we want to know, well, which one of these diagrams represents the same as 1/4? Well, first we need to figure out how many blocks are in these diagrams. Well, if it's a model that represents percent, it's probably 100. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 by 10 is 100. So each one of these is 100 blocks. So this has 4 out of 100 shaded. Whereas when we look at this one, we have 16 out of 100 shaded. When we look at this one, we have 25 out of 100 shaded. And when we look at this one, we have 28 out of 100 shaded. So 28 out of 100 is 28%. 25 out of 100 is 25%. 16 out of 100 is 16%. And 4 out of 100 is 4%. So we want to know which one of those fractions is equal to 1/4. So let's take 1/4. And how many out of 100 is 1/4? 1/4. How do I write a fraction that is equivalent to 1/4, but it has a denominator of 100? So 4 times what is 100? 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 4 times 25 is 100. So I'm going to multiply the top by 25 as well. So I see that 1/4 is equivalent to 25 out of 100. And 25 out of 100 is equal to 25%. So this diagram right here is equal to 1/4.